What is good, beautiful people? It's your boy Taryn Joshua. Today, I'm actually going to be talking about why this book here by Will Smith, his most recent memoir, autobiography, whatever you want to call it, why this book is literally probably the best book that I've ever read, or at least within the last 7 years at least, you know what I mean? It's an incredible book. Fascinating story, man, about an icon that we all know about. So let's get into it. Let's actually dive into it and find out why it's so dope. So firstly, just some general backstory about me. Back as a kid, I never used to like reading at all. Like, I used to hate it. People put a book in front of me, unless it was for English class, I ain't reading that. I just didn't have the imagination to be able to bypass reality and create this world or escape to that degree or another. I was a very shy kid, so there wasn't really a world that I needed to escape to because I was so fascinated about what was going on. I used to observe everything that was going on around me. So for me to waste time diving into a fictional world where nothing's really real for no real reason, I just didn't have the capacity to do that as a child. Do you know what I mean? As I got older, I realized I'm kind of almost programmed that way a little way anyway. I don't really have that imagination to bypass reality, even when it comes to movies, besides stuff like the Avengers and all these type of things, but was never really into dragons, cosplay, all of these different things. And it's only as I've started to dive into filmmaking and storytelling where I'm able to understand the value in it and kind of program and train my brain into understanding why storytelling and all these different aspects actually help make real impact and real change. Do you know what I mean? So I'd say when I got to about 14, 15, 16, I started to find interest in like self-help books and autobiographies and just other non-fiction types of stories, because I was like, okay, cool, this actually provides value for me. There's practical steps that I'm learning and there were interesting people that I could actually engage with. That's when the reading kind of portion of my life started to actually, exist. Even now, I don't read anywhere near the amount that I want to read, but I'm still getting there slowly. But anyways, I'm going off course. Why this book has become such an impactful story for me is firstly, based on the premise that, I like real life stories and stuff like that. When I'm able to apply it to something that I've seen or impact that I already know is there, an icon like Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I can apply these stories and be like, raw, that was the context to your life. That was the context to you recording an episode of The Fresh Prince. That was the context of you deciding to film Bad Boys and all of these different things. And I think that's just so powerful to think about sometimes. In fact, as much as I have the book here, I didn't actually read the book. I actually listened to an audible. And that in itself was another element to the story and why it was so impactful and powerful. Will Smith is an artist. He's a creator. He's a master storyteller. So he went above and beyond in the way that he produced his audiobook. He did all the voices for the characters. He did music breaks, all these different things that just added it into a spectacle rather than just a book. And that's one of the things that I appreciate the most about this story. Will Smith is someone that's literally become one of the greatest actors in our generation. Obviously it's up for debate, but when you look at the numbers and the statistics, it's factually true. This is a guy that understands story down to the science. He understands spectacle down to the science. One of the goals that he mentions in the book that he breaks down, going through that process, he actually says, I want to be the greatest movie star of all time. Not just a great actor, but a great movie star. And he goes through the process of dissecting, okay, what makes a great movie star? And then he works out over the last 10 to 20 years, who were the greatest movie stars? What were the movies that they took? What were the scripts that they wanted to read and write and all these different things? And he broke it down to a formula and a science. And this is who we're working with when we look at this book. Now, from my perspective, now reading this and knowing this and acknowledging this, you can see that from the beginning of writing this book, he said, okay, cool, what makes a good story? And how can he now implement this into a book about his own life? As much as this is his autobiography, you can see that the science of storytelling is in there. And he even speaks about it himself too. As a filmmaker or an aspiring filmmaker and aspiring storyteller, one of the greatest theories that, people know is the story of a hero's journey. Basically, that means if you look at basically any story, any film, any movie that you kind of get attached to, there's always a key character that goes on a quest where he has to fulfill something or go through a period of change and challenges to come the person that we want him to become, or she, of course. The Hunger Games, Superman, Spider-Man, any of the superhero films, even in things as simple as rom-coms, you're following a character that's gone through a period where they now need to go through change, and you want her to either get with the person or establish her own self-worth. All these different aspects, it's always about going through a journey and go through a quest where there's gonna have to ultimately be change. What Will Smith did in this book, he circulates the whole story on the premise that he was a guy that had troubles with his family. He always saw himself as a coward that actually didn't reflect the way that the world saw him, and he was constantly going through this internal battle that followed him through his whole entire life. Even when he was making the millions, he still had this feeling of, I'm a coward. I'm still not able to do the things I do. I'm not able to satisfy these women. I'm not able to protect my mother. I'm not able to protect my family. Yet the world sees me as a superstar. And that internal battle is the thing that we kind of follow him through in all the amazing things that he does, and finally get to a point where we see him now as he's a 50-something-year-old man that's releasing art like King Richard, which is a banging film, by the way. There was some good films last year. It was a banging film, 10 recommend for sure. But we look at films like King Richard, where he's now focusing on legacy and what he's leaving to the world. What's the things that he wants to represent? Before it was so fixated in, I am the icon. I am just an icon living. Well, I guess it's his son now. I am the superhero. I am the superstar here. And now he's able to implement things like, you know, The Best Shape of My Life, his book, King Richard, and tell stories that leave something for the world to be inspired by. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just feats of escapism and all these different things, it's looking at, look, it's all about loving people. That's about dreaming the dreams that need to be dreamt and going for it and all these different aspects. And when you see it in the context of who he is as a person and the journey that he's been on and the behind the scenes to his life that wasn't perfect, because we look at Will Smith and we see a lot of perfection sometimes. It was just amazing to see. And it's hard for me to get into the depths of it because it is a thick book. Look at this. It's actually quite hench. But just him talking about these different aspects and how he actually felt during moments where his marriage was about to fall apart. This is Will Smith, a person that we see as a superstar, just having ordinary problems. He was able to humanize himself in such a way that I almost felt like I could relate to him. How can me, a person that's a 22-year-old student that's got X amount of P's in the bank account, still worrying about what I've got to do with my life, feel like I can relate to Will Smith as a human being? And that's what it's all about. I think the fact that he was able to, again, apply the science of storytelling to his own life to create a journey that can actually create real internal impactful change without it being a self-help formula. Step 1, work out more. Step 2, dream bigger. He doesn't do that. He applies all these principles to a story, and that's why as human beings, that's what we actually need. We don't need a manual and motivation and instructions to tell us what to do. We need real, relatable stories that touch our hearts, touch our minds, and touch our humanity. Again, as an inspiring storyteller, this has been one of the most eye-opening things for me. The fact that he's been able to switch mediums from music to acting to directing, filmmaking, to now writing a book. It just shows how legacy can be really inspired through storytelling, you know? Yeah, I can go on all day about why this book is so good and talk about specific aspects and stuff, but I think for me the most important thing again is the importance of story and the importance of relatability and inspiring people through your story. My story is just as important than Will Smith's will ever be, because there's people that look like me and think like me and will see like me that one day will hear my story and know that's inspired me and that's motivated me to do something. So I guess this is just a way of me saying, you know, regardless whether Will Smith is the greatest actor of all time, again, up to debate, great storyteller of all time, whatever you want, he is a person that recognizes that the most important thing is story. The most important thing is relating to one another. The most important thing is creating the idea that we can be inspired through the honesty of who we are. It's great, man. It's great. I definitely recommend giving it a read. As far as I know, it's free on Audible at the moment. And just get to know him, man. Get to know what he wanted to share with us on all these different things. And let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was just a little bit me of just kind of a little bit of a thought, you know what I'm saying? And And you know, it's not the most conventional book review. I could have talked about chapters and the way it's all made, but you can do that for yourself. I think it's just what I kind of took from it the most. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Go read the book, man. I hope you guys are doing well. It's been your boy Taran Joshua. Peace.